am.
Jane, are you ready? Okay, approach the dais. Are we ready?
Ready.
Okay. Well, good morning. Today is Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. You can join today's board meeting via phone. Dial 971-254-3149, conference ID 736-023-979#. Audio capabilities are listen only and offered on a best effort for the public. Our meeting is also live streamed, and you can join us by going online to tctvonline.com and click on live broadcasts. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. Public comment. Those intending to provide public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us. Public comments received by 12 p.m. on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online before the meeting, and become part of the public record. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us by 12 p.m. on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners Office, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. Do we have anyone signed up in the room, or is anyone registered online for public comment?
No to both.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful. We have called to order, so I would like to welcome everyone. It's always delightful to have people in the room with us. Please do sign the guest list on the shelf to my right in the back of the room if you've not done that yet. And we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Yamamoto, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, not having any public comment. There is one unscheduled agenda item that we will take after item 6. As well, we will have a quick update from the clerk, which we'll do right after our presentation. So we are going to start this morning with the Tillamook Working Lands and Waters Cooperative, and we have Carol Marie Leuthold and John Wehage with us today. And this is the second in a series. We had the opportunity to hear from them last week, and actually 2 different members last week. And these folks today, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah, good morning. My name is John Wehage with the Tillamook Working Lands and Waters. I also work for Stinson Lumber Company as a Coast Unit Manager, and I think you were here last week. Yes, Carol?
I was.
No, you were here last week, or no?
I was not here last week.
I wasn't able to make it last week. The first 2 videos that we presented to you, and neither was Carol Marie. But so we're the volunteers today, and we're going to look at video number 3 real quick, that was done by the Tillamook Working Lands and Waters group, which we've been together for about 7 years now.
Years in October.
And Carol Marie and I are both members from inception. We were the ones that helped get it started. And so we've been doing education within the community on natural resources and dairies, fishing, and forestry for 7 years now. And the third video that we're going to see that Tillamook Working Lands and Water done is the why we do what we do. Why we are stewards of the land and how we go about that. They are very long videos. Then we're going to shift to a 4th video that was done just this last year, and it was done by Travel Tillamook, that wanted to explain what natural resources is in the community. We have a lot of people coming to our community, moving from different places, and they need to understand what Tillamook is about, what kind of natural resources we have here and how we manage them, and how we go about that, the laws, the regulations, and everything that goes on with that. And so that was an effort to help educate the people that are moving to our county, and hopefully that's helpful with those folks trying to understand what goes on and not just be all negative about what they see out going on with cow poop and different things that happen, harvesting of timber and things like that. So, without further ado, do you have anything else? You good?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and roll the first tape, please.
Thank you.
It'll take a second here.
When you visit a community, you have to understand that there's always the front-facing attractions and activities, but behind the scenes, there is always a community that's working hard. And in Tillamook County, the natural resource community is that community.
Natural resources in Tillamook County, it's how this county got started many, many years ago. They include timber, of course. Dairy is a huge industry here in Tillamook County, as well as fishing. And this is the basis for what brought Tillamook County to the forefront many, many, many years ago, and it continues to be an important part of our economy.
I'm Mark Elston. I'm the plant manager here with Hampton Lumber Division in Tillamook, Oregon. Hampton has had a presence here in Tillamook for 35 years, approximately, since 1986. We make about 210 million feet of lumber a year. We're all involved in the environment around us, whether it's the forests, the dairies, the fishing. So it's in our best interest to take care of those things. We have 170 salaried and hourly employees that work for us here. A lot of them are giving back to the communities a lot. A lot of them are coaches and involved with 4-H programs. We're also tied into high school and the Tillamook Bay Community College.
You need a strong mindset for anything that you do, like pole climbing, for example, if a whole nother sport. FNRL, Future Natural Resource Leaders, draws kids into the jobs in the outdoors. Natural resource organizations do definitely do their part for their community, and they donate for projects that need done, like YMCA or our football field, for example.
So the agricultural education program at Tillamook High School and in our county has been a main staple of training the next generation of employees to be able to have the job skills needed to thrive in today's agricultural economy. We have jobs here in the local community that revolve around agriculture, fishing, forestry, natural resources, and this program was designed specifically to make sure that our students are equipped with the resources they need to be able to thrive in that type of environment.
I've been raised on a dairy farm my whole life with 2 generations of dairy farmers, and I've definitely known since I was little that I wanted to continue the career in the dairy industry, and that I wanted to take all these skills I learned here and just really put them into my everyday life.
We're blessed to have a beautiful county along the coast. We've got 70 plus miles of coastline here in Tillamook County. Tillamook Working Lands and Waters is a grassroots organization that felt that our true job should be to educate not only the residents of Tillamook County, from people across the state. We have the buy-in of all of our natural resource-based industries, as well as our Public Works Department and Tillamook County Soil and Water Conservation District. We all work together to make things better in Tillamook County.
Working Lands and Waters, without one of us not here sitting at the table, none of this would exist. Because we need what we have out in the woods, we need the fields, we need the cows, we need clean water, we need abundant water. Fisheries wouldn't exist.
Very nice. Thank you. Do you want to chat about that before we jump on to the next one?
Yeah, I think we can. So, the why, and a little bit of the why there is, our next generation coming up. You see a lot of students there that are competing actually on a national level. Dairy Judging just did some stuff at 4-H and was competing on a national level. So, and there is, and then we have the FNRL at the high school. They're starting one at Neoconi. And that gets support from many of the people that are members of the Tillamook Working Lands and Waters. I think it's if I look back, I have about a 30-year career, and you look back, and even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, would you see dairy sitting at a table with timber, with fisheries? And the answer to that is no, you wouldn't. They were all kind of either competing interests or just protecting their own interests. And what we've done here, I think, is something special in Tillamook County, is we've been able to take all these folks, and it's amazing. I mean, I grew up on a small farm too, next to dairies and stuff, but I learned a ton going out with the dairy farmers, people like Jim Scar in fisheries, and learning about the hatcheries, and learning about the intimate details of their businesses and their management techniques and natural resources. So it's really been educational for me in the other fields.
Yes.
I don't know if you have anything to add to
Yeah,
that. But
it's also been educational for me to work together with other natural resource industries. You know, when we first began this 7 years ago, little did we know what it was going to do for us, for our community, for visitors that come into the community. It's been a huge blessing because we are so richly blessed with natural resources here in this county. And those of us in this room know that. And no doubt people listening also know that. But it's a wonderful thing to be able to educate those who can't or who haven't grasped that fact.
yeah, or just don't have the knowledge. I've never been around it. I mean, it has been really rewarding though to work with the different fields and in agriculture, forestry, and fisheries and oystermen. I mean, I've learned a ton about oyster. Mark Weigart. I mean, I've learned a ton about what goes on out in the ocean. So it's been good for all of us, and it's a blessing to have that in Tillamook County. So like I said, the fourth video was done with Travel Tillamook, and this was specifically done to help educate people moving to the community. A tool that they could use in a little different focus, but a little broader, I think. Where our video was a 3-part video. This one's just a little bit broader and meant for the people that really haven't been exposed to this. So we can roll that one.
Had a little bit of problem with the sound, I think, so hopefully this will work.
No problem with the sound online. Well, just like I said, we thought we had it figured out.
Yeah.
It's always
something with the technology.
there we go. If we want to have a future in what we do and how we do it out here, we better be paying attention. I better be paying attention to it so that my kids or your kids or the farmers' kids can have a farm down the road, and my kids can be a forester or a logger or whatever they want to do.
We're multi-generational farms, and the last thing you want to do is hand it down. We want to hand it down to the next generation in better shape than what we ended up with. I believe that.
There's one thing that makes all our industries work, and that is water. And without adequate, clean, and cool water, things have a hard time surviving.
These are first generation hatchery fish. These are all from wild parents. This took some years to get this program to come to fruition.
We have 3 lines that go out that pull water out of each Arts Bay, and we pull in 75 to 100,000 gallons of seawater a day, 24/7. We can't do this if we don't get water out of Etarts Bay, and so if our water is not clean or has problems with it, then we can't harvest it.
Every industry in Tillamook County understands the necessity to have clean water and fish coming back on a regular basis.
Yeah, adaptive management's key for all of us, right? You know, the willingness of the players to follow the science and, you know, put the resources towards the betterment of the riparian areas and river systems has really made a difference.
All depends on clean drinking water. And our fisheries, our timber, and our dairies could not survive without it.
There probably isn't a farm in Tillamook that isn't either next to a river, a creek, or a major ditch that goes into a creek or a river, and we have to keep these buffer zones so you don't get that runoff. It's trying to keep the water out of the barn so we're not adding to the manure tank. It's trying to keep things covered, keep your gutters working good, and it's just doing a better job of managing the manure.
The mountains of the filter, right? That means having a high quality rock on the roads that are up here. We don't use those dirt roads up here because of our high rainfall.
Okay, so welcome to the port here of Albany, and we've got kind of 3 stops planned here.
Wanted to educate the folks that come out here about the sustainability of these fisheries. And like I said earlier, some of the best stewards of our environment are our farmers, loggers, and fishermen. When I first started fishing here, my dad had 2 boats. He also had.
Is how we collaborate as a community in Tillamook County. That I feel is the big thing. If you talk to the timber guys here, we talk to the dairy guys here, we talk to the fishing guys here, a decade or 2 ago, they weren't talking with each other.
Every one of those industries has something started right now that won't be available for 2 or 3 or 20 years down the road. Ultimately, all that matters is protecting the water.
We do a better job the more we know. You know, the more we know, the better we're going to do. And the research helps us with that, there's no doubt.
We were taking large woody debris out of the creek because the science said it was blocking the creek, 50 years ago. And now we're putting it back in because we know better.
When it comes to clean water, habitat restoration, and fish recovery, we all collaborate on this. With our watershed councils, with Tillamook County Soil and Water Conservation District, Public Works, no Oregon County does this better than Tillamook County.
Our end goal is the same. It's clean water, and if anything short of that is not acceptable.
That was terrific.
Yeah,
Really
they
good.
did a nice job. Sandy had that done, and that was fun to do. You run around and they take some shots, and you talk to them a little bit, and they come up with something. You're like, wow, okay, that's pretty neat. So you can see that was quite a bit broader, a little more shallower, but it touches on, obviously you can hear the common theme with working lands and water is water, and we all focus on that quite a bit. And that's, if you've been on our tours, that is what we focus on. It's the common thread between actually humans and natural resources all the way through. It's got to be there. So we would, if there's any questions that commissioners may have or anything like that, or for comments, we'd be willing to answer those.
Perfect, thank you. I am going to let Commissioner Yamamoto go first because I'm sure he has some commentary he would like to add in the vein of more the presentation than probably the questions. So why don't we start with you, Commissioner?
all 4 films are just terrific. They are. I was blessed to have been invited to the very first meeting of Tillamook, well, before it was even called Tillamook Working Lands and Waters. This is Oregonians for Food and Shelter that started talking to us, and so we gathered people, industry, dairy, fishing, timber, government agency, Tillamook Soil and Water Conservation, TEP, watershed councils. They just brought us around the table and didn't tell us what we should be doing, just asked us, so if this group were to form, what would you want to do? And we talked about it. I remember these conversations. Well, we've got so many people moving to Tillamook County from outside the county, from outside the state, from around the world that really don't understand modern fisheries practices or dairy practices or timber practices. If they're going to live here, they really should be educated on how we do things today. And that became our mantra, education. We called ourselves Tillamook Working Lands and Waters Cooperative. We started tours, which were terrific. I think one of the very first tours we did was for AOC's County College, of which I was a member at that point. And it was an amazing, eye-opening experience for everyone that has been on our tours. It's one of the most coveted tours at AOC currently. We've got more commissioners than we've got open slots to fill on these tours. We brought out federal agencies. We brought out NOAA Fisheries and FEMA. We brought out, this was last summer, we brought out the Senate Energy and Natural Resource Steering Committee from Salem. This is all about education. And our most recent tours have been about the water, of course. It's all about water. Not one industry can do something and not affect the other 2 industries when it comes to water. When you get almost 100 inches of rain a year, it's how you manage the water, keep it clean. We do things so well, and that opened the eyes of a lot of commissioners, especially on that first tour. We just told them, you can't duplicate what we do, but take back some of the things that you saw here today on tour, take them back to your county, and you can implement them. I'll be very honest with you. I am just so proud of Tillamook Working Lands and Waters and what you do, what you've done in the past, what you continue to do today, and what you will continue to do into the future. It's all about education, making sure people understand that we are stewards of the environment. We are. And at the same time, we provide materials and food products that people around the world need. And we do it the right way. We really do. So I applaud you. I thank you for what you do. I thank you for what you will continue to do. Just bravo. Doing a great job.
Yeah, and I'd have to, that's reciprocal on that one. We did some tours, and we do our annual planning tour. We try to do at least one, and then David would always come to the table and say, hey, I've got some guys coming from here or there, and you think you can pull off another one for us? Absolutely. And so he was very instrumental. It was nice to have the commissioner's office support us, and same with the city of Tillamook. When something comes up, we were able to oblige that. And I think, did you mention the FEMA came out and, we had,
fisheries and FEMA.
You did mention that, the BIOP, which did a huge educational component to them. And that's why we're at the table with those folks today. They were impressed with what they saw. So it's been a reciprocal thing, and we applaud you and thank you for your help.
Thank you so much.
Well, kudos to all of you, to Commissioner Yamamoto, who of course is leaving office soon to retire. So this is maybe his swan song for Tillamook Working Lands and Waters.
Lands and Waters, yes.
And kudos to both of you for being in it for 7 years and doing the excellent work that you do. These videos are just beautiful, and they're really very effective. As I was watching these two today, I just thought, I'm excited for other people to see these. I'm grateful that you're here today because Jane will get copies of these videos and they can play on her website and they can play on the local cable access channel. So you have a broad reach by coming here and sharing this information today. I think the tours are excellent. I've been on the tours several times. I've learned things every time. I think they're just fabulous. And this last video in particular, I think is really so smart because when people come, if you live in a natural resources community, you understand. I couldn't count the number of people I know and care about who have jobs and support their families in natural resources. Yes. It's uncountable. It's essential to our community. And we do it well. We've already said this, but we do it well. You do it well. And but we hear from visitors, the smell of the cow poop and their how they feel about when they come over and they see a clear cut, so I think this kind of information is particularly working with Tillamook Coast Visitors Association. It's going to help spread the message into the valley, which I think is invaluable. So bravo to you. The mission to educate people you're just doing a fabulous job. I really admire you and appreciate it.
Well, we thank you and the community for partnering with us and putting up with us. And Commissioner Yamamoto's bragging on what we do because we love his statement about nobody does it better than we do here.
I was telling her we need to make a t-shirt.
Oh, yes.
That's a great idea.
I think that's a fabulous idea. T-shirt would be wonderful. Well, because you've got some great shirts already that you give out at your tours with them.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but that one, it comes up every time now.
It does. It's the mantra, right?
Come by month. It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
I didn't know before today about future natural resource leaders at Tillamook High School. So thank you for educating me and other people about that. I think that's fabulous. And it's the first time I'd heard that, FNRL. And so, what a great idea.
Yeah, and it's, like I said, it's catching on up at Neoconi. Has one of the teachers, Steve, he has a field set up too for the logging sports competition, which actually got canceled this last weekend because of that weather we had. It was just ridiculous. So they're rescheduling it.
Yeah, let's not send them up a pole in that.
The last, it was 2 weekends ago, we had a competition, and it's everything from timber scaling to, you saw like pole climbing and what we call misery whips, the old buck saws, and a lot of different. Some of them are technical competitions, and some of them are physical. But I think they had like 8 or 9 or 10. I'm probably off there a little bit, but it was a lot of schools. We had 110, 20, 30 kids competing this year at Tillamook High School's competitions. So it's catching on in Oregon, actually, more and more. So that's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a really good program. Emily was part of the Future Net. My daughter was part of FNRL.
She was in early, that's correct.
She was. She ended up ultimately going for more of a medical career, but she spent a couple of years in the FNRL. In fact, she was the state secretary for FNRL and had the opportunity to travel with the group to do some competitions in other places. She went to a conference, I think, in Palm Springs, in fact, and she came back with just a lot of really good information and understanding about the community in which she was raised. Things that she had seen her whole life but had not delved into. So having our students understand, we often talk about the children are the future, right? This is what's going to carry forward the beliefs and the paradigms into our future. And as our children in Tillamook County have the opportunity to learn more about the natural world around us, how our industries function, how they function together, the more likelihood that what we are experiencing today will continue into the future because our kids are going to understand it and value it at the same level that we do. So yeah, that is an amazing program, and the Working Lands and Waters piece of this is really, it's just exceptional. I might be biased, as we all know. A couple snapshots of my husband in the video, but living on the hatchery and experiencing the relationship between the industries just firsthand for 20 years living there. Every time we had a heavy rain, we were watching to see what was the water coming into the hatchery doing. Was there an issue up above? And if there was, Stimson was right on it, saying, yep, we see it, we're there, we're taking action, hatchery's taking action. It's a partnership, and it's a really good, important, strong partnership. And I love the fact that we've been providing tours not only to our commissioners, but our legislators. I mean, I think one of the things we feel the most in our rural communities is that our metro areas don't understand us, and legislatively we lose because they don't understand us, right? I mean, we went through quite an era of ballot measures trying to stop timber harvest, ballot measures trying to stop animal husbandry, right? These things that just would absolutely kill our industries. And the more we can make sure our legislators understand what our rural communities do and how well we do it, the more support we can get at that state level. So it's important. It's important that people know. It's important that elected officials know. And it's important that people who live here know. As you said, we have a lot of in-migration. And I love the fact that we've been having tours, you've been having tours with TEP. I mean, Tillamook Estuaries Partnership is really seen, I think, by folks who are focused on the environmental care and stewardship of our communities. That's an organization they look at and say, this is of great value. This is an estuary of national significance. These folks are helping to protect that. So when you're able to put a tour like this together with TEP, it says, no, seriously, our industries do it better than any place else, and our industries do care. Our industries do want the same clean water that we need for that national estuary. So it's just, to me, when I started seeing those tours come out, there was just a huge hurrah for me inside, because that's how we get people to the table who otherwise might be hesitant to come learn. Let's speak into their listening, which I think partnering with TEP has done. So not only are you doing a great job of educating, just in general, you're looking at how do we reach the hard to reach populations that really need to hear the message. So I just thank you so much for all that you all are doing, and we look forward to continuing to work with you as commissioners as Mr. Yamamoto here takes his leave. But commissioners have a strong commitment, and we will be with you going forward. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
I just want to say that, when I retire, when I leave, Tillamook Working Lands and Waters is going to be at the top of my list of things that I'm really going to miss. You guys do great work. Just keep it up.
Well, you might get an invite back to the tour.
Yeah, perfect. I love it. You can go on tour with me someday. Yeah, there you go.
Well, this is a great opportunity to mention that Commissioner Yamamoto was awarded by the Oregons for Food and Shelter their tell me the name of the award. It was like it wasn't champion, but it was something to that effect.
It was a champion, natural resource champion.
Natural resource champion. So that was at a banquet just this last week. So congratulations. I think it speaks to the fact that your work goes beyond sitting here with us in Tillamook County. It has really been a just groundbreaking along with the Tillamook Working Lands and Water. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you guys very much for being with us today.
Thanks so much for being here.
Okay, we are going to take our next unscheduled item here, which is a report from our elected clerk. I don't know if everyone knows that we did have an election yesterday, so I'm going to let Christy Bates talk a little bit about that election, let everybody know what happened.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yesterday we had an election, and so our office opened at 7 a.m. and then we closed at 8 p.m. to the public, and we had, I have to get my percentage right. So the turnout as of yesterday was 39.42%, and we had 2,861 ballots returned, and we have 7,257 registered voters that received ballots for this election. And we are now waiting for postmark deadline, which is next Tuesday at 5 p.m. So we have to take all the ballots between yesterday and next Tuesday and check the postmarks, and then whatever's timely marked process. And so we will be working on that. People who didn't sign their ballots, they have until the 28th of the month to either sign the form we sent them, give that back to us, and then the people who had a signature that we couldn't verify was them, they can update a card and we can match the signature and fix those by the 28th. And then by December 4th, we'll certify the election. So we still have some weeks to go, but the main part of it is done. And the boards will be back to work on the 17th and the 29th And I would probably like to say that we cannot do this job without our election workers and staff, because they're committed to really doing a good job for us and helping with this, which is major. And so I'd like to publicly thank them because they do good work.
Thank you. Can you explain why there were only 7,000 voters in this particular election? It feels like that's not enough.
Right, because we have almost 21,000. Yes, so we got a lot of calls about that. So unless you lived in the Stucker Road Fire District, or you lived in the North County Rec District boundaries, or were part of Cannon Beach Fire, you wouldn't have gotten a ballot for this election. So yeah, just those people got to vote this time. And just for clarification, if people look and see there were no results listed for Cannon Beach Fire, that is correct. We suppressed those results because they went one way, and you would be able to tell how somebody voted. So under the direction from the Secretary of State's office, we suppressed those. And because voting should be anonymous, and so we don't want people to be able to tell how someone voted. So when that changes and it goes either way, we have votes for both yes and no, then we can, we'll release those. But for right now, we're just going to suppress those. So if people do have questions, they're welcome to call the office and we can talk about it. But that's why you won't see anything for that.
And if I want to know what the results are right now, where do I look, or are you going to tell us that?
You can go to www.tillamook.gov/clerk, and under elections, click on the November 7th, 2023 election tab, and then scroll down, and the yes/no votes are listed along with the percentages as well. And you can go, there's a link to the state election night reporting module as well that does a statewide reporting, which is pretty cool that you can check out statewide to see races as well.
Perfect, thank you. Commissioners, other questions and comments?
I just want to say congratulations on your first official election as clerk. It's a big milestone, and it sounds like it went beautifully, and I'm grateful to you and the staff, and also to the elections workers, to the folks who came back, who have been coming back for years, and to the brand new folks. You know, we're pleased and grateful to have you and have you on the team. We absolutely need you, and I've had the opportunity to be in the clerk's office during an election day and night, and it's very exciting and very busy. There are a lot of people involved, there's a lot of work to do, and we're really fortunate to have a system that we can count on in that way. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot, and I didn't ask this in advance, so I apologize. I'm just wondering if you have any idea if that's an average 39.42%. Is that an average turnout for a special districts election, or good or bad?
It is, and I would think, I was thinking it'd be a little bit, maybe 42 to 45, but we might hit 42, but it's about average.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then we should, in the presidential, we'll probably hit like 80, maybe 80%, 82%. So yeah, it's not bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Commissioner?
Christian, I know this isn't your first rodeo with an election. You've been down in the clerk's office for a lot of years. This was your first year as the clerk,
yes.
And I knew there wouldn't be any problems at all. And I understand things went very well.
Mm-hmm.
So I applaud you, and especially your helpers. You can't do this without the volunteers. You really can't. So this is an example of how things work so well in Tillamook County, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. It's just such an important part of how our democracy works, is voting. And 39 to 42% being normal is kind of unfortunate in some ways, right? Because this is how our democracy works. And in this case, what were on the ballot were mostly related to financial, right?
Yes.
I mean, these were ballot measures that were going to impact folks' taxes. And it was interesting, I've been seeing on Facebook, people just got all their tax bills. And there's been a lot of conversation on Facebook about how come my taxes went up so much? I thought it was locked at 3%. This is wrong. What's happening? And thankfully there are others who are explaining it, so I don't feel like I have to jump into the Facebook fray, but recognizing that when we do pass these levies or bond measures, that it does impact people's taxes, because we do have to pay them back, right? If it's a bond or use the money. So I think that while we had a 39-42 and that's average, I hope more people will vote. I hope people who watch this and are hearing recognize that the chance to have your say is on your ballot, and that our systems are safe and accurate, and that our clerk's office absolutely 100% assures that that's the case, that we are in good hands, skilled, educated, with lots of experience. So thank you for what you do, and your staff and the temporary workers as well.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good day.
All right, thank you. Okay, we will move on to our regular legislative agenda, item number 6. Discussion and consideration of a United States Forest Service fiscal year 2023 Community Wildfire Defense Grant application to provide essential updates to the Tillamook County Community Wildfire Protection Plan. Randy Thorpe, Director of Emergency Management.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good
I will
morning.
start off with a ask of forgiveness.
Uh-oh. I don't know if that's a good way to begin, Randy.
This grant was due last Wednesday. I was in cahoots with State Fire Marshal's Office, ODF, Tillamook Fire, and I did not get all their final stuff until the witching hour. So I was not able to present it prior to the online submission. But because it's a very good grant and some good money involved, I figured that maybe just go ahead and get it in and then present the application a week late. So hopefully that will sit all right, and hopefully I'll be back here in about 6 months and for signature on this grant. So this is a grant through the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. It's through the U.S. Forest Service. It is administered by the Oregon Department of Forestry. This is a grant that can be utilized to redo your community wildfire prevention plan, which is what we need to update since it is 2010 was the last time. So there's going to be some major updates with it. This is also the grant that the communities and fire departments and districts go through to get funding to do Firewise and fire mitigation projects. So they cannot do any of those projects until we have a legitimate, up-to-date plan. So the thought was let's go ahead and put in for the grant money to get the plan updated. We'll do the plan no matter what because it has to be updated. But with being able to get grant money to do it, I think it'll be a much better plan and more in-depth plan. There's going to be a lot of GIS work to be done, a lot of inventory to be done countywide. So to do it right is going to cost quite a bit of money. This grant is going for $246,800. The majority of that we'll do a lot of contracting out of the work to do, because again, there are other experts out there that have the time to do this research and to help us develop the plan correctly. And the biggest problem we had was when we looked at the original documents, it did not list Tillamook County as qualifying for this grant because we are low risk in wildland fire. So that was another reason why it took us so long to finalize this grant application, because we had to put in some convincing words that locally we do have a risk for wildland fire. And we had to basically justify why we do have that risk here in the county. If you look through the document that was there, that was the worksheet I used, and I just cut and pasted into the online application. I think they did a very good job between Jen Warren with Fire Marshal's Office and then CODA over at the Tillamook Fire District did a lot of work on this grant application, and I think it's pretty good. I would approve it if it was me.
If only it were you.
And so the time frame on this, they're saying that they will be able to let us know about mid-February on whether or not the application went through. I'm really hoping that we do, not just so we can do a good plan, but if we do not qualify for this grant due to our low fire risk, that is going to stop any of our projects being able to go through this grant process in the future. We'll have to look for alternative financing, which there is. There's other financing out there to help us with the fire mitigation. But that's why it was so important and why we took so long and we waited, that last minute to get it in, because we just kept kicking back the drafts back and forth and just kept adding and what about this, and because we really needed to make sure that we could prove our point here. But on the good side, we're not the only ones in this. The whole Pacific Northwest of Oregon is in the same risk, and that's Lincoln, Plaza, us, Washington County. We're all low risk according to everything that you look at. Luckily, I was able to utilize the older map that ODF did, because the new map has not been officially put out. So that helped us a little bit, because that original map did show us a little higher risk than the new map. So it's kind of a catch-22. You want to be low fire risk for your insurance premiums and a lot of other things. But if you're low risk, that stops us from being able to get any outside funding to help do any mitigation projects. So it's kind of a catch on that. So hopefully this will go through, and we'll be able to get at least the plan up and show that we are not a low fire risk in Tillamook County. Because I would hate to explain to Mary Faith, I'm sorry, you were low risk in that fire that just wiped out your house. Just don't worry about it. It's because you're low risk. That's not what I want to be doing, is trying to explain to people that, yeah, we couldn't do projects because we're low risk. And so hopefully we did it. And if we did, I owe a great big thanks to a lot of people that helped put this together. So I think I promised them dinner, courtesy of outgoing Commissioner Yamamoto. And so, are there any questions or concerns about the application that I submitted? Any questions on the process?
I just wanted to add a comment. We identified this as an opportunity to fund the radio communication system as well, and we were not able to submit it because we don't have a plan. So one of the projects Randy's talking about is the radio system. So once we get the plan completed, we'll be able to, in the next round of funding, to go after some of the radio communication funding.
Thank you. Questions and comments, Commissioners?
Well, Randy, I know you've been working on this for months, and I know that you've gotten a lot of other agencies to pitch in and help you prepare this, because we had the barrier that you identified, that the U.S. Forest Service doesn't recognize Tillamook County as at risk for wildfire. And so I wonder if you can speak to that at all. It just strikes me as like old information, because we have, like, how often does the U.S. Forest Service update their information about wildfire risk? Because clearly now we have climate change. We're in a drought state. We declared drought this year for the first time, maybe ever.
Yeah.
And I think it's clear to me that our risk for wildfire has changed. So I wonder how often the federal government reviews that information.
Not as frequently as they should. The problem that we have is they go on historical fire data. They go really heavy on that. And with our researching in, we can only come up in the last 20 years of any major fire was the Pike. So that's what they look at a lot of this, is they say, yes, you had the Tillamook burn back in the 30s and everything else, but that's, nearly 100 years ago. So they look at the last 20 years and they're saying you had one fire incident in your entire county. And so that's a lot of our problem that we have here, is we don't have recent historical issues. So that should change, and that's why we're looking at doing something different. Like, say, with the climate change, with everything else going on, is that the risk is there. You look at the fuel load and you look at everything else, and the risk is there, but that's not historically, they haven't dove in that much of what they're doing. Oregon Department of Forestry is looking at a lot of doing that, but they still have us too far of a low risk. And that's another reasons why I think they're really looking at redoing their plan too, again, is to start taking into consideration a lot of those local effects that we have. And that's what I'm hoping, like with this grant, is that we're starting to point those out. And so people are gonna start to see that, and I'm hoping that other counties do the same thing and start to justify on a local level. Because when I talked with the state person over this, that's what she was saying, is present a local case, because on the big scope of things, you're low risk, but prove it on a local level that you are at risk for wildfire. And that's what I'm hoping with this doing, is that it'll start to change some minds and push forward and saying, yes, historically it's not there, but we point out, like with the Pike, if the wind had not changed, there wouldn't be a Bay City. And so the risk is there. It's the same thing that happened in Otis in 2020, and yet Lincoln County is also low, but they lost over 200 homes to wildfire. So the risk is there, and I think that mindset is starting to change just historically, because we don't have fires like Lane County and burn hundreds of thousands of acres and homes every year in and year out. They're saying, well, wait a minute, you do have a risk there. It's the same thing as I look at it, is that we did have some fires that started this summer that if it wasn't for the really good response we had from ODF and our local departments, they would have gotten large. And so again, the risk is there. We've had the fires, but because of the great response that we have, we're keeping them small, and so they're off the radar of any of the statistics that people are showing out there. So, and that's a lot of what they go on is, it's that fire history is their big thing that they push on. The historical fire, because that was part of the application in there, is historically, what have you had? And we list Pike Fire, well, what about anything else? No, that was it. And so I'm hoping that we can start to change that opinion. And ODF, I met with the local, with Ed locally, and he's the same opinion, is that they've got to do something different. Somehow they've got to say that we're a higher risk, but not have it financially burden the homeowners. And so it's really a tough. That's that fine line that we have to work on to say, yes, the risk is there, but don't triple and don't stop us from being able to get any type of insurance. So that's, like I say, I'm hoping that it does change to a point where we can at least say, yes, there's a risk, and yes, you need to do some mitigation work, and yes, we need to give you some additional funding to help you those risks. So, and we've got just not the radio project, but there's a lot of communities and fire districts that have projects lined up to start doing some fuel reduction and a lot of work with the communities in moving forward with this. So I'm hoping that we can keep moving forward with it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think risk is that crossover between the possibility and the probability. And what, unfortunately, we have lots of possibility. When we did our hazard mitigation plan work this last year, and we're almost done with the hazard mitigation plan, Sarah just walked in, she's like, yes, thumbs up. But it's that we went through every possible hazard in the county, and we looked at the possibility of having those here, but then we also had to look at the historical data, and we have to look at which comes to the probability piece. And while the possibility for fire here is absolutely, as you say, huge. I mean, look at the amount of trees, look at the fuel load, all of that stuff you talked about. The probability is low compared to other places. And that is a hard game to play to find that right balance. So thank you for the work that you're doing.
Hopefully we get it.
Yeah, hopefully you do. So, Commissioner, other questions or comments?
No, so I'll be brief. Isabel has the next item, and she needs to be out of here by 10. So
Okay.
we need to move this along. Randy, you did a great job on this. The Pike Road fire, one of the main we couldn't get ODF to come out and help us. They were busy on so many other fires in this state. Fortunately, and I was there. I was watching them work on that fire, and all of a sudden, about 9:30, 10 o'clock, all this heavy equipment started rolling in. It was the loggers, the dairy guys, any heavy equipment they had, they brought it to the fire. I think that was the reason we were able to stop that fire. So there's a lot going on here, but thank you for what you did.
Perfect. I think I've made my comments, but thank you for what you do. We understand that the timelines sometimes don't meet our timelines as commissioners, and I think we're happy to approve this. So I'm ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a United States Forest Service fiscal year 2023 Community Wildfire Defense Grant application to provide essential updates to the Tillamook County Community Wildfire Protection Plan, I would move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
Randy.
you so much.
And you're forgiven, Randy.
Thank you.
Yes, you are forgiven. Okay. Moving on with the unscheduled item, discussion and consideration of an application for permit on Bay Ocean Peninsula by the United States Army Corps of Engineers for rehabilitation of the Tillamook South Jetty. Isabel Gilda, Executive Assistant, Board of Commissioners. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Before you for consideration, as you mentioned, is an application for permit for vehicle access to the Bay Ocean Peninsula for the Army Corps of Engineers and their Trade West Construction Company. In compliance with their county ordinance number 42, all motor vehicles except publicly owned vehicles are required to have a permit to access the peninsula. And these permits are approved and issued by the Board of Commissioners. For this project, the Army Corps of Engineers has recently awarded a contract to Trade West Construction for the rehabilitation of the South Jetty. It's a huge project. Been a long time coming. The scope of the project includes installing approximately 110,000 tons of new rock to rehabilitate the jetty in those locations that are determined severe degradation, and to rebuild the head on the jetty. The project will take 2 or 3 years, and the approximate cost is estimated $52 million for this portion. So it's a big project. And the permit access will allow the contractors and the Army Corps of Engineers access to the peninsula for that period of time.
Perfect. Thank you. Questions, comments, Commissioners? Thanks. Great job, Isabel. Thank you for carrying this item. I don't have much to add. We learned a little bit about this in a joint board meeting with Port Garibaldi recently. We learned about their intention to barge in the jetty rock material, which is great, I think, because it will be that much less abuse to our roads and pavement. But they do need access to Bay Ocean Peninsula, and there's a locked gate there, and so that's what this is them, the Army Corps and the contractor being able to drive out to the end of the peninsula. So I'm fully supportive, and thank you for carrying this.
And they have all the necessary other permits and easements from the county for this. This is just for the vehicle access. And the reason it being unscheduled was we don't have a board meeting next week, and they couldn't wait till the week of the Thanksgiving. So
sure.
We offered to do it unscheduled.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, it was important. This has been at the top of our federal priorities list for decades now. Finally got the money, although you mentioned $53 million. Yeah, that's a major portion of it, but that's not the entire grant that was awarded by the our federal delegation. But I'm in full support here.
Perfect, as am I. We definitely want to get the South Jetty fixed sooner rather than later, and we do not want to be the reason there is a delay. There's been enough time spent. I think this was first not this funding, but the project was first approved back in the 1950s as needing to be done.
A lot of history.
Yeah, and yet it's taken until today to actually get the funding on board and to have it scheduled. So we do not want to be the reason it's held back. I would note that the permit is from October of 23 through December of 2026. And this is the first sort of awareness to the public and the community that at some point during this, there will be sections of the jetty that will be closed to public access. I know this is a very, very popular area for people to go out and hike and to fish, and there's a lot of public access that happens. So this is just the first awareness. More details will be released as exact dates and exact limitations and restrictions come through the contractor and as they design their process. But FYI, this is the first piece of what the public will begin to see related to this.
I would also add, staff has been working with the Army Corps of Engineers representatives on an outreach plan, and there'll be signs posted at Bay Ocean, QR codes, which will help keep people informed, as well as mailing lists and lots of media outreach as things are progressing.
Wonderful, thank you. That's going to be really important to keeping people safe. So thank you for that. Okay, I think we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of an application for a permit on Bay Ocean Peninsula by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for rehabilitation of the Tillamook South Jetty, I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Isabel.
Thank you, Isabel.
Thank you for bumping me up at 10 o'clock. I have a training to attend.
You're
so
late.
Yeah, you're late. You better run. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that.
Thank you, Isabel.
Okay. She's forgiven too. We're just in the process of forgiveness. Okay, item number 7, discussion and consideration of a prevailing wage contract for construction with Columbia Cascade Construction, Inc. for this district attorney office remodel project. Rachel.
I am very pleased to finally be able to give you the final paperwork ready to sign today for your consideration. This is a 1,500 square foot remodel of the entire district attorney's office suite with all of their staff, removing walls, updating wall finishes, lighting, low voltage, flooring, full remodel, with basically the goal to create a very efficient functioning office for them to do the essential critical work that they're doing. So before his consideration of the contract, we've already, we're finalizing the plans for where their staff will be relocated, ideally in the courthouse. We have a demo date for the walls to come down the week of December 18th. So we are moving full speed ahead. It's ready for consideration.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, questions or comments?
No, I'm glad we're moving ahead. I'm glad we have a date. Someone asked me about this project yesterday, and the public's interested in it. We had a presentation several weeks ago by the DA with some slides to show that their working space really is crumbling. It hasn't been updated for maybe more than 30 years. They have small, inadequate spaces that don't meet code. They have people working behind a shower curtain in the staff break area. You know, it's goofy. Rachel said the walls are crumbling, the floor is worn through. It's a mess. So I know, I understand that the public's interested in this, but we're interested in the space that people occupy while they work, and also it contributes to the ability to do recruitment. Because when we're trying to recruit people, they want to know where they're going to be spending most of their waking hours, and that space is an embarrassment. So I'm glad we're doing it.
Thank you.
I would concur. These spaces have been sort of jury-rigged over the years, with bits and pieces here and there. Having an efficient workspace is primary in my mind, and I think this will assist the DA's office in a big way. So I'm in full agreement.
As am I, and that meeting, I did receive also a request from the public about this, and that meeting was October the 18th, and I let them know that thanks to Jane Scott, they could go to TCTV online, and I believe see the recordings of our meetings from the history, so if they would actually like to see that visual presentation, it is available to them through tctvonline.com. So appreciate that, Jane, that is fabulous, and yeah, it just needs to happen. It's actually really unfair to staff to ask them to work in the conditions of peeling paint and crumbling floors that are currently in that office. So I'm embarrassed that it ever got this bad, and in full support of fixing that.
Ready for a motion. Madam Chair, consideration of a prevailing wage rate contract for construction with Columbia Cascade Construction, Inc. for the District Attorney Office remodel project. I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, our next item is a 10 a.m. public hearing for the road rename request number 851-23-000485-PLNG. An application has been filed with the Tillamook County Department of Community Development at the request of the Tillamook County Public Works Department to rename a portion of Cape Mears Loop Road to Lighthouse Road. The area of roadway is located within Section 18, Township 1 South, Range 10 West of the Willamette Meridian, Tillamook County, Oregon. And I have with us today Sarah Absher, Department of Community Development, according to my agenda, but I also see that I have Jasper Lynn sitting in front of me and Director of Public Works Chris Lady in the audience. So please feel free, staff, to whoever's appropriate. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you.
Good to be here in person. Good morning. So yes, Sheila Shoemaker, one of our project planners, was going to be joining us today for the presentation in light of the current events and modification of operations. She's not with us today, so Jasper and I will be bringing this forward to you. Because of the lag time in the presentations online, we just thought that image before you that has the depiction of the segments of Cape Mears Loop would be the most helpful. It's also in your hearing packet as part of Public Works application submission as Exhibit B. So, and I believe Director Lady was going to put the image on the screen on Teams for those following along online as well. So there is also a copy of the road name and rename ordinance in the back of your hearing packet. This is Exhibit D of the report. This is not a land use proceeding. This is a separate county ordinance and process. For whatever reason, community development years ago was tasked with bringing forward road name and rename requests to the Board of County Commissioners. And so the process is outlined, and that is County Ordinance number 33. And so there are pieces of that are reflected in the staff report. I'm going to go ahead and give Jasper an opportunity to visit with you more about the rename request. Essentially, the department received the request a couple of weeks ago. This is for the remnants of Cape Mears Loop that now has to be renamed due to the realignment of the 1.8 miles that has shifted the intersection of the road to the south. The depiction shows in yellow that portion we're talking about for the rename. The aqua is where the old road was, and then the red is the new alignment. The department reached out to the Oceanside Neighborhood Association, the Cape Mears Community Association. There are very few ownership properties that fall along the portion of the road that we are looking at. The only property that's improved is the State of Oregon Cape Mears Lighthouse property. The Lighthouse Road name proposal is an extension of that segment of road that accesses the lighthouse. We did not hear from Oregon Parks. We did hear from the Cape Mears Community Association, who was in favor of the road name request. Others notified 911. So when we do road names, bridge names, addressing, etc., we have a protocol that we have to follow in the department to make sure 911 is a partner in that. Not all emergencies are visible. And so when we look at road names, when we look at addressing, we have to make sure that we are following 911 protocols so that emergency responders know where they're going and they know how to get there. 911 did not respond to this request. They were notified. I'm not surprised they didn't. They are aware of this. This project has been going on for a long time, and so as Director Lady wraps up his part, this is one of the last pieces. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I think you covered the greatest hits of it. Essentially, it's just due to the realignment of Cape Mears Loop. We have the older alignment remaining, a portion of which will remain as a closed road. It will still be a public right-of-way, it's just not open to vehicular traffic. The remaining spur that has that name we're hoping we can rename it Lighthouse Road. That is actually the name of the private road at the end of that sort of dog leg you see there. And there's actually already a road sign up there for precisely that name, and has been for quite some time due to the naming of that private road. So we're just proposing to eliminate the redundancy of having a three-way intersection of Cape Mears Loop with Cape Mears Loop.
Makes sense. Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. Questions or comments, commissioners?
No, I totally support this project. It's logical and it's appropriate, and I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Nor do I. I just want to clarify one thing, Sarah. So this was Public Works that brought this new workload to you?
Yes, which is not uncommon, Commissioner Yamamoto. A lot of our work trickles from Public Works, but I do charge them for it. So there are, if you read through.
You should see Chris's face.
Share with the public. But it's money well spent.
We have a good time, right?
We do have a good time. Definitely appreciate the collaboration and partnership. If you look at the ordinance, there are very few entities that can make these types of proposals. And they have to either, like if it's a community that wants to do a bridge name or something, they have to have a sponsor. Typically it's us. We have several road name requests that are going to start coming before you. They typically do come in cycles. The last one we did was in 2017. But we do have some work to do. And so often if you look, it's the Board of Commissioners, if you ask us to go through this process, largely where we get these requests is either from Public Works or from 911. If there's a discrepancy, they want us to change and do some cleanup. What's nice about this one, fortunately, is no one has to change their address. Sometimes when we do this work and we see a lot more public involvement, it's when folks have to change everything that they have to update their address, and that can be difficult. But luckily in this case, it's pretty straightforward and we don't have those concerns.
So I just need to say that I'm glad that the public is not on this list of those that can bring a name change request to you, because I've talked to a couple of people. They say, well, because of the size of the pothole in front of my house, you need to have a name change going around it. But I'm just kidding, of course. Thank you for all you do.
Yeah, no, this looks great. It makes a lot of sense. It would be very confusing to say, well, when you get to, you're on Cape Mears Loop, when you get to Cape Mears Loop, turn right. Right, so just the understanding and clarity that you can't have three roads all named the same at a three-way stop. So yeah, makes good sense, and I think Lighthouse Road also makes good sense. I didn't realize before that when I read all this that the dog leg actually had the same name, so that makes it even more obvious and clear. And there's already a sign, so it's even less expensive, right? Because we don't have to put a new sign at that particular juncture. So I think that is good. Any other questions, commissioners, before we open the public hearing? No. Okay, not hearing any then. We will open a public hearing at 10:12 a.m. Do we have any comments from the public for our public hearing?
We don't.
No. Okay, then we will close our public hearing at 10:12 a.m. Love those. Okay. Is there any deliberation, commissioners, following the public hearing? Not for me.
All right.
Okay, then I would suggest that we would be ready for a motion for agenda item number 9, consideration of an application to rename a portion of Cape Mears Loop Road to Lighthouse Road, which area of roadway is located within Section 18, Township 1 South, Range 10 West of the Willamette Meridian, Tillamook County, Oregon.
Looking for a motion.
Looking for a motion.
Madam Chair, I don't have anything in front of me, but I think I can wing it here. So,
It would just be the same.
Madam Chair, in consideration of an application to rename a portion of Cape Mears Loop Road to Lighthouse Road, which area of roadway is located within Section 18, Township 1 South, Range 10 West of the Willamette Meridian, Tillamook County, Oregon, I would move approval.
I
second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Painless.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, that brings us to the end of our legislative agenda. We do have an executive session to go into, but before we do that, are there any board concerns today? No. All right, I will go ahead then and read our board announcements. The Commissioners will hold a board briefing on Wednesday, November 8th at 2 p.m. to discuss the weekly Commissioner updates. The meeting will be held in the Board of Commissioners Meeting Room 106 in the Tillamook County Courthouse, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon. The teleconference number is 1-971-254-3149, conference ID 736-023-979#. Veterans Day is an observed holiday for the county and Oregon State Circuit Court. All county offices in the Tillamook County Courthouse and the Tillamook County Library, administrative offices in the jail and justice facility, Public Works Department, Department of Community Development, Surveyor's Office, and the Health and Human Services Department and clinics and the Circuit Court will be closed on Friday, November 10th, 2023. The Commissioners will attend the Annual Association of Oregon Counties Conference in Eugene from Monday, November 13th through Friday, November 17th, 2023. There is no community update teleconference scheduled for Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 at 8 a.m. There is no Commissioner Board meeting scheduled for Wednesday, November 15th, 2023 at 9 a.m. and no board briefing scheduled for Wednesday, November 15th, 2023 at 2 p.m. Thanksgiving Day is an observed holiday for the county and the Oregon State Circuit Court. All the county offices in the Tillamook County Courthouse and the Tillamook County Library, administrative offices in the Jail and Justice Facility, Public Works Department, Department of Community Development, Surveyor's Office, and Health and Human Services Department and clinics will be closed on Thursday, November 23rd, 2023, and Friday, November 24th, 2023. Okay, with that, we will recess this board. Oh, can you give us the ORS, please?
I can, Commissioner Starr, ORS 190-2602D.
Thank you. With that, we will recess this board meeting at 10:16 a.m.